Hey y'all, Dr. Chandler here at Athens State University, and we're in week 6 and in module 3 for our strategies course. So I just wanted to go over a little bit about module 3 and talk to you about some of the competencies that and goals of this module. So module 3 is on cognitive strategies to support learners' thinking. And what our text tells us is that one of the most important skills that we as instructors or trainers, one of the things that we can do in any environment, it says online environment, but in any environment, is to help the learners, the participants, build effective learning strategies to improve their thinking. And so Module 3 kind of examines all of that about with cognitive scaffolding tools that you can use and to help the learners enhance and augment and extend their thinking, as the text says, and then skills to engage in learning activities. Then there are 4 types of scaffolding strategies that the textbook goes over, and these are procedural, metacognitive, conceptual, and strategic. So procedural, we can think of that as when we orient folks to a class. How procedural scaffolding is how do you train the learners, or how do you train the participants of a program, of a course, the learning activities, whatever it may be, the learning situation. How do you explain the procedures to them of how the class is going to actually look and how they will operate during that. So this may be a one-time orientation. This may be something that you do depending upon what the activities are. But that's what that's talking about when it says procedural scaffolding. And that's as they begin the course, or they learn how to navigate in an online environment, or in a lab shop environment, whatever that might be, that you give them some type of procedural scaffolding. Then metacognitive scaffolding, and this is to help learners develop thinking skills to effectively plan, monitor, and evaluate their learning throughout the course or the training activity. So how can we help the participants learn to monitor and evaluate their own learning, so that they can self-adjust and make changes on their own without always relying on someone else to prod or drag through a particular area. And then conceptual scaffolding, that's the third area, and it helps learners understand difficult concepts and ideas presented in the course. So what are some tools that we can use to help the participants to understand difficult concepts? Well, how do we identify what are difficult concepts? How do we monitor what's going on, particularly in an online environment when you don't see the learner face to face? If it's a distance training situation, how can you know, what are some clues we can look for as the trainers, instructors, to know what's going on and what may be a difficult concept or an idea presented in the course? Strategic scaffolding, the final one, and this refers to the support that we will be able to develop tools that will support individual learners in their zone of proximal development. And then I'm glad that this text uses the terminology to provide just-in-time help throughout the course. A couple of years ago, I did some research on just-in-time teaching, which is actually, it sounds like it's like preschool when you say just-in-time teaching, or it does to me. But actually, just-in-time teaching is a higher ed strategy and kind of procedure for teaching in both an online and face-to-face learning environments. And so what that's referring to here in this text, probably not as in-depth as the whole entire concept of just-in-time teaching, but just-in-time help, so that it's not after the course has ended or after the opportunity has passed, but that if we have tools available as the instructors or trainers, that we can provide those and kind of build an arsenal or equip the learner to know when they need help, and then how to go about getting the help they may need before it's too late. So that will help with the persistence. That should help with retention in programs and have our students coming back and being more actively involved. So those are the 4 types of scaffolding that you will go over in Module 3. And there are 2 main goals of this module. And the first one is to help you develop a set of cognitive scaffolding tools to support learners that we were just discussing that are engaging in your course, whatever that course or training activity may look like. This goal is directly tied to the persistence and a review of factors that influence the persistence. In Chapter 3, this is the text that's telling us this, that reviewing the factors that influence persistence that are discussed in Chapter 3 of the book may help with this part of the text. So that may be beneficial as you develop an understanding of the importance of cognitive scaffolding tools. That is a mouthful, especially on a rainy Wednesday. But specifically, this goal will again goes back to impacting the persistence and helping the learners to integrate into your learning environment. So whatever that may be, again, if it's online learning, if it's face-to-face, if it's a flipped classroom model, when I think about specifically like career and technical education, I think what better place to use a flipped classroom model so that we can give theory instruction and those types of things online, and then spend our face-to-face time with our students engaged in project-based learning, being in the labs, actually doing the learning when we're with them, and when we have the opportunity to be there to guide and model for them, whereas then we can present theory and things as online beforehand. All right, so second goal of Module 3. The second goal is to develop an understanding of the importance of monitoring the course environment, and this is where I was talking about it can be really difficult, for clues that learners are struggling. So Chapter 10 addresses the need to continuously monitor this learning environment. Again, whatever that learning environment may be, but particularly to be able to evaluate learners' progress and diagnose difficulties to give them the support just in time that they may need. So this chapter also goes over, and I keep stressing it, that it can be very difficult to monitor these types of things in an online environment. Because you don't have the face-to-face visual clues and cues that you may have in a face-to-face classroom. So how are you going to diagnose learning difficulties from a distance? So this chapter should help with that Chapter 10, and then this particular module. So the more that we can help, the more we can understand the importance of the continuously monitoring the learning environment, the more effective that our strategies will become, and the more support we'll be able to provide to our learners. And again, going back to retention and persistence and helping to increase the motivation of the participant to learn and to be a part. So the competencies for us, we're going to hope to develop a set of cognitive scaffolding tools that demonstrates our understanding of cognitive scaffolding and how it can support learners in the learning process, and to plan strategies to support learners just in time in their zone of proximal development. So what that means is, how are we going to help them with what they need, when they need it, where they are, and not always just a generic way of assisting the learners, but to really look at each individual and where they are and what we can provide for them and what we can do with as far as strategies. All right, so you're going to be using chapters 7, 8, 9, and 10 of the text, and the PowerPoint presentations that are read by the author are already loaded for you. This chapter will be so much like the other, this module will be so much like the others in that you will complete the required readings. There are some supplemental materials for you, including those presentations, and then we'll have discussion boards and assignments that accompany them. Okay, so I hope that you all have a wonderful week, the rest of the week, and remember, we're in the 6th week of the semester, and we're starting Module 3. So have a great one.